ragged. Then on Newhart, Dick's dilemma is picking a producer, either Michael or someone with talent. It all begins at a special time, 8, 7 Central and Mountain, tomorrow night, right here.
Wednesday, George Siegel and Stockard Channing fight to save their child from self-destruction.
I thought other people's kids did drugs, not my kid.
This is CBS.
A plane crashes into a car tonight along 694. The driver of the car is seriously injured. The people in the plane are okay. In a moment on the 10 p.m. report, we'll have details of this story.
Also tonight, details of newcomers' visits to Austin. The man who fought for civil rights in the South
comes to the North to fight for the labor movement. Sold to the highest bidder. Those were the rules at a local auction today.
But the bid stayed low as buyers walked away with deals on condominiums. Indian traditions took center stage at the Capitol.
As Minnesota honored one of this country's Native Americans.
And in sports tonight, the North Stars remain in the playoffs, and the Golden Bear proves he is the master. The 10 p.m. report is coming up next.
Ain't nothing like the real thing, baby. Ain't nothing like the real thing.
Burger King introduces chicken tenders, real fillets of all-white meat chicken breast, not processed like nuggets. Delicious chicken fillets cooked in pure vegetable oil.
Ain't nothing like the real thing.
New chicken tenders from Burger King, not chicken nuggets, real chicken fillets.
When I was a little girl, my family lived near the Salerno Bakery.
I wish we lived there.
And every morning when I woke up, my room was filled with the wonderful smell of freshly baked cookies.
Yummy.
And sometimes I just couldn't help it. I had to sneak downstairs to get some of those delicious Salerno cookies.
Did your mommy ever see you?
Uh-huh. And she'd say, Sarah, can't you wait? And I'd say, sorry, Mom, I can't.
I know what you mean.
At Salerno, our recipe for baking unforgettable cookies hasn't changed in more than 50 years. Salerno, we bake memories.
You are watching WCCO Television, Minneapolis, St. Paul. All today's news with Mike Walcher, Debbie Ely. Dr. Walt Lyons has weather. Tom Hanneman has sports. And now, this is the 10 p.m. report.
Good evening, everyone. A small plane had to use Interstate 694 as a runway tonight.
And the result was a collision with the driver of a car, who tonight is in serious condition. Pictures from the scene tonight show how the plane ripped the roof off the car. The car kept going after the plane hit it and drove into a field. When we arrived at the scene, the plane was in the westbound lane of Interstate 694 near Xerxes, and traffic was backed up while Brooklyn Park authorities cleared the plane and the debris. Reports say no one in the plane was injured, and it's unclear tonight why the plane was apparently trying to land on or near the highway. A helicopter flew the victim to North Memorial Hospital. His name has not been released, but the hospital says he's a 59-year-old man in serious condition. He was the only person in the car at the time. Debbie?
Tonight, people from both sides of the Hormel strike are trying to sort out what role, if any, Jesse Jackson will play in trying to settle that strike. Today, he went to Austin to offer his services as a mediator. Terry Sater reports on Jackson's day in Austin and about the questions about his role.
Reverend Jesse Jackson stepped off the plane in Austin this morning, bringing a ray of hope to the bitter 8-month meatpackers strike. Hundreds of P9 supporters surrounded the civil rights leader. Moments later, he stirred the emotions of strikers.
In many ways, what Selma, Alabama was to the voting rights movement in '65, Austin, Minnesota has become that to collective bargaining in 1986.
Jackson moved on to meet with Hormel officials at the company's headquarters. Hormel Senior Vice President Chuck Nyberg described the meeting as constructive, but no promises were given.
The fact of the matter is Hormel must find a way to accommodate the legitimate interests of workers who built the plant physically.
Jackson says there must be a plan to get the strikers back to work at Hormel. Anything short of that, he says, will only increase the polarization and hostility. Inside the Malheur County Jail, Jackson encouraged and prayed with P9 demonstrators. The men face felony charges in connection with Friday's clash outside Hormel's plant gates.
We shall overcome someday.
At an impromptu rally in the Austin Labor Hall, Jackson told strikers because of them, there is new life in the labor movement. Many strikers say Jackson's intervention marks the beginning of a new phase of the strike, a beginning they hope will eventually lead to a contract settlement with Hormel. With Bob Mannery and Bill Kemplin, Terry Sater, WCCO Television News, Austin.
Reporters asked Jackson today whether this appearance was just part of an early run for the presidency in 1988. Jackson said it was not. Mike?
President Reagan wants Japan's support against terrorism and possibly against Libya's Muammar Gaddafi. And that's what Mr. Reagan told Japanese Prime Minister Nakasone in meetings at Camp David. Japan does not buy oil from Libya, so Japanese support for any U.S. action is virtually assured. The two leaders also talked about trade issues and about a plan to westernize Japanese culture to make the Japanese people more open to buying American products. Ambassador to the United Nations Vernon Walters is working on our European allies for support against Libya. He met today with French Premier Jacques Chirac. Walters is trying to convince the Europeans that Gaddafi was behind the bombing of the disco in Berlin that killed an American soldier. He's also trying to convince Britain to allow the United States to run missions from their ships if there is military action taken against Libya. And while we line up our support, Libya is getting pledges of help from its friends.
One of those is Syria, which vows to back Libya against the U.S., although it does not say what form that backing might take. Syria's 400,000 troops have experience against U.S. military hardware, having fought 3 wars with Israel in the past 20 years. Syria gets lots of its military gear from its main ally, the Soviet Union. And a woman who has been an eyewitness to tragedy in the Middle East is visiting Minnesota. Jihan Sadat, the widow of slain Egyptian leader Anwar Sadat, today received an honorary degree from St. John's University in Collegeville. Sadat says people must stop the violence and seek new paths to peace in the Middle East. She also said a solution must be found for one of the causes of terrorism.
They have to find for the Palestinians their homeland. This will help a lot, really, because they are spread and scattered everywhere, and they make these violences because they don't have any homeland to be settled in.
Sadat is in the area to help raise funds for St. John's Manuscript Library.
Tonight, millions of tax refunds are in the mail. But if you owe money to the federal government, your refund check may not be as big as you expect. The government is withholding money from 750,000 refunds to make up for delinquent federal loans. The government says Americans owe $24 billion in student and other loans. Critics, however, say tax returns are confidential, and not even the feds should be dipping their fingers into those refund checks.
And, Mike, there won't be the usual number of Minnesotans rushing to the post office to beat Tuesday's tax deadline. That's because more people have filed their returns early. The incentive, bigger refunds. Minnesota Revenue Department officials say the average refund comes to $351. That's about $50 more than last year. Those refunds, coupled with lower interest rates, have made it easier for Twin Cityans to buy houses. Today, local realtors held what they call Home Buyer Sunday. Realtors say that home sales in Minneapolis alone are 20% ahead of this time last year. And today, a Lake Minnetonka developer tried to direct some of those buyers his way.
He did so in an unusual way. He put 75 condos and 27 boat slips at Lake Wind's condominiums on the auction block. Owners say it was not an emergency sale, but a way to save money by selling the units quickly. And as Trish Van Pilsen reports, it did.
The auction gave experienced investors and first-time home buyers an equal chance at some lakeside Successful bidders got what the development's owner called good deals. That may be putting it mildly. The first 30 units sold for tens of thousands of dollars under listed prices. One listed at $116,000 sold for $71,000. A unit listed at $86,000 sold for $38,000.
I'm never surprised when it comes to values, because what we're doing is seeing your local market respond to its opinion of value. And you're seeing realized value today here at the auction.
But if the auctioneers weren't surprised, some of the successful bidders were. Surprised and pleased.
We figured they were all going to go over retail, so surprisingly enough, it didn't.
Well, it was kind of scary, but, you know, it was exciting. It wasn't like sitting down at a desk with 10,000 papers, you know, it was like, I want that one.
Current residents of the luxury condominium development aren't sure what the auction means to them. Filling the empty units could boost their property values, but some fear sales at such low prices could force their property values down. This current resident hedged her bets by trying to buy another condominium.
I decided I had nothing to lose. If they went high, makes my unit worth more. If they went low, I got it, which is what happened.
Despite fears the condo market has been sluggish and resale values could be low, these buyers hope that by grabbing units at tens of thousands of dollars below the asking price, they can't lose. Trish Van Pilsum, WCCO Television News, St. Louis Park.
And this evening, the owner reports that 60 of the 75 units sold, 30 of them for the winning bid, and the remaining 30 bids accepted by the condo developer. And later on the 10 p.m. report, the North Stars stay in the playoffs, and the green jacket goes to a bear, the Golden Bear.
And next, the state recognizes American Indians, and it happens in a way that's never been done before. Also next, the birds are healthy and ready to return to the wild.
La Deneuve on La Salle.
La magnifique, La Salle. La sensationnelle, La Salle. La romantique, La Salle. La superbe, La Salle. La masculine, La Salle.
La Gorgeous. La Salle for women like Catherine Deneuve and men like you.
I put to you this simple proposition. Save your gums or lose your teeth. Gum disease is what causes most tooth loss. From age 35, it strikes 3 out of 4. 3 out of 4. And by age 60, over a fourth have lost all their teeth, mainly to gum disease. Consider your chances. What can you do about gum disease? See your American Dental Association dentist. Don't wait till it hurts.
16 of the most popular riding mowers in the country. A leading independent consumer publication tested them all. This one was rated #1, Toro. They said it left the lawn smooth as a carpet, gobbled up heavy grass without complaint. It also handled easily and predictably. So see the #1 rated Toro. It sure is nice to be rated #1.
Save now on the #1 rated Toro rider at these Toro dealers.
Night, Charlie.
Bye, Mr. Johnson.
Ford Tempo Sport GL turns driving into an adventure with a high-output engine, 5-speed, and sport suspension. Tempo Sport GL can even turn your drive home into a stimulating experience.
How was the drive?
Oh, uneventful.
See your Twin Cities Northland Ford dealer today.
Minnesota recognizes an Indian leader in a ceremony at the state capitol today, and the Pope recognizes members of the Jewish faith in a synagogue in Rome. 2 stories tonight that many felt were a long time in coming.
Absolutely, and John Paul became the first Pope ever to visit a Jewish house of worship. John Paul embraced the chief rabbi of Rome, and the pontiff deplored the hatred and persecution of Jews throughout the centuries. The Pope did not mention Israel today, but Jews present in the Rome synagogue say his visit is almost the same as recognizing the state of Israel. And there had never been an Indian memorial at the Minnesota State Capitol, never until now anyway. A ceremony today honored Sioux Indian Chief Wabasha III, a prominent tribal leader who died 110 years ago. The name Wabasha has its place in Minnesota, a county, a town, a street in St. Paul. And now it's attached to this first-of-its-kind statue. Mark Watts reports.
The ceremony began with an Indian ritual rarely seen in public. They danced, chanted, then blessed the area near the bust. The ritual concluded with the passing of a pipe.
I hope that this is the first of many events at which we recognize through the arts the rich heritage of our Indian people of all tribes.
The Sioux Indian leaders said this recognition comes long overdue.
Chief Wabasha was a man of many diplomatic skills, something that was needed at a time of utmost change and disruption.
More than 200 of Chief Wabasha's descendants attended the ceremony. They traveled from 9 states to get here. One of them, Chief Wabasha's great-great-grandson.
He was a great man. He was a great leader, a great person, militarily a great general.
Wabasha III was considered a brilliant speaker and negotiated several treaties between the U.S. government and the Sioux tribe. The bust will be placed at a permanent location inside the Capitol to serve always as a reminder of the rich cultural heritage of the Sioux Indian people of Minnesota. Mark Watts, WCCO Television News at the Capitol.
Freedom finally came this afternoon for 5 birds. The University of Minnesota's Raptor Rehabilitation Program released the birds after having nursed them back to life. The birds included 2 owls, a red-tailed hawk, and 2 sparrowhawks. The release came at the Minnesota Landscape Arboretum, and a crowd gathered to watch the birds try their wings.
The sensible luxury car.
My Coupe de Ville is a very dependable car and is a very responsive car.
I've owned Cadillacs for 8 years, and I went to them because of the comfort and reliability and low maintenance.
I never thought I would own a Cadillac because of the image, but it was the most sensible car to buy.
Discover the sensible side of the 1986 Cadillac de Ville at your Twin Cities Cadillac dealer today.
Have you started to notice that your bank has outgrown you? It seems like you've been getting lost in the crowd lately, and that they're often too big to care much about you anymore. Whenever you're there, you feel so insignificant. Well, maybe it's time you took a look at Marquette Bank, the bank where you can still feel important. Because to us, you are.
You mean a lot to us at Marquette Bank. You mean a lot to us, and it shows.
You could use diphenate for your corn, but it won't stop white grubs or flea beetles. New low-odor Thimet controls those pests and more, guaranteed. You could use Lorsban, but Thimet beats Lorsban for rootworm control. And Thimet insecticide has systemic action, too. Why pay more for Furidat when Thimet gives better rootworm control? Tear into Thimet this year and save $2 to $5 per acre. Better performance and a lower price. That's the Thimet bonus.
The Benny Hill Show is sure to tickle your fancy. Don't miss his outrageous sense of humor. Tonight, following the 10 p.m. report on Channel 4.
The cold, wet weather is coming, and wouldn't you know, Dr. Walt decided to take an evening off. Convenient.
He knew when to leave, I'll tell you. Not maybe too bad for us. It looks like we're going to get a little bit of rain and then some snow mixed in with the rain maybe late tomorrow night. But out west, I-90, Interstate 90 is closed between Wall and Rapid City because of the snow out there. So things are not good out in the Dakotas. Weather advisories all over the place out there. So travel is not recommended at this time unless you absolutely have to go and take a winter survival kit. Since 6 o'clock, showers have been approaching the Twin Cities. We've had one little kind of band move through. There's another area forming out to the southwest. This line is an area of showers and thunderstorms. Some of those thunderstorms have produced tornadoes down in Nebraska. We've not had any severe weather reports since they moved out of Nebraska and across parts of South Dakota, but back into South Dakota, a flash flood warning has just been issued for around the Watertown area because of some heavy rains from the showers and thunderstorms there. Live radar indicates that we still have some shower activity around the Twin Cities, mainly to the northeast of us, but this line is still approaching, and we could still see some thunderstorm activity in here, most likely after midnight sometime. Well, the U.S. radar shows where that line extends all the way down into Kansas. This is where all the severe weather has been occurring. Severe weather watches remain in effect tonight all the way from northern Oklahoma up into Nebraska, and a pretty good area of showers and, yes, snow in North Dakota extending all the way back into the western part of the state, while we're just enjoying nothing but this little layer of clouds that's approaching us. This is the thunderstorm activity, and it extends all the way up into eastern South Dakota and just approaching the Twin Cities right now. It's been laying down quite a bit of lightning as well. If we take a look at the lightning watch, you can see that most of the activity was in Nebraska and then spreading up into Iowa and then finally moving right up into the southwestern corner of the state. The most recent activity has been kind of suppressed. We don't think we'll see a great deal over the next couple of hours, but sometime after midnight perhaps that thunderstorm activity will be approaching us. The satellite picture continues to show developing line of thunderstorms to the south of us and good circulation now wrapping around that major winter storm for parts of the country. Whether it will get us or not, well, it doesn't quite look like it. It looks like it's going to track a little bit to the south. However, a warning remains in effect for snow tonight for much of the Dakotas. Travelers advisories up to the north and the northwest of us and also down into southeastern South Dakota, but a winter storm watch in effect through the central part of the state up into the northeast and also for northwestern Wisconsin for tomorrow and tomorrow night. So it looks like part of the state will definitely get some snow. High temperatures today, cold out in the west, warmer to the east, and of course it's in this area where the severe weather broke out and also that's helping to feed that storm and help it to grow and develop. Our weather guide today, we did finally make it up to 57 degrees under the cloud cover, 40 degrees for the overnight low. Still no precipitation at the airport, although we have had some sprinkle and shower activity around us right now. Our current conditions, we're still in the 50s with 53 degrees. It's cloudy, 50% humidity. East wind still gusting up to 26 miles an hour, a little breezy outside, and the barometer is 29.74 and still falling as that low pressure area approaches. Tomorrow's weather map is going to take the low almost due east and doesn't look like it's going to hook as far to the north as it looked like it might do earlier. That means we'll probably stay mostly in the form of rain here in the eastern part of the state. The western part of the state will see some snow, and we could change over to snow late tomorrow night or at least become mixed with the rain. The computer is saying that we could see as much as 1 inch to 1.5 inches of rain here over the southern part of the state. So it looks like we are going to get nice and wet. That'll kind of put an end to any of those brush fires that we had any concerns about earlier. High temperatures for tomorrow generally in the 40s to near 50 degrees, much cooler out in the Dakotas where it is snowing and probably will continue to snow at least throughout the night tonight. Forecast tonight, cloudy with a possible thunderstorm. Later, low of around 45 degrees. The winds will stay out of the southeast at 15 to 30 miles an hour. Tomorrow, it'll be just periods of rain. Some thunderstorms mixed in from time to time. Near 50 degrees for a high. Northeast winds at 15 to 30. But as that low tracks onto the east, we'll start getting the wraparound around the back, become mixed with snow possibly, with a low of around 35 degrees. And then for Tuesday, mostly cloudy with lingering showers, a high of only 45. The extended forecast does have some hope in it. Starts to put some sunshine back in the forecast the first part of the week, and maybe some sprinkles coming in on Friday with the temperatures warming back up into the 50s for highs.
That system's
a lot of weather coming at us.
That system's just sitting up there waiting until rush hour tomorrow, and then it's going to get us in the morning.
I guess so.
Next on the 10 p.m. report, a deadly disease and the right to privacy.
That disease is AIDS, and the privacy question has come up now that more people are taking tests for the disease. And we'll have more on this story in a moment.
Step into Wix Furniture's world of spring values, a world of exceptional quality and spectacular savings. When you save $200 on this contemporary queen-size sleeper, you're saving on beauty and the comfort of an innerspring mattress, now just $399.88. Or save $300 on this classic-style queen-size sleeper, also featuring a quilted innerspring mattress for only $399.88, with no payments or finance charges until July with a Wix charge.
Wix, surprisingly Wix.
How many times have you sat there and listened as radio stations try to sell you songs you don't want? Like Honey by Bobby Goldsboro.
And Honey...
Convoy by C.W. McCall.
Here's a rubber duck and I'm...
Or anything ever recorded by Jack Jones. Well, now W Light plays only those songs you want to hear. Lionel Richie, Billy Joel, the Beatles, Whitney Houston, Phil Collins, and the Boss. And as part of this special TV offer, if you tune in W Light right now, you can get a song by any of these artists absolutely free. So you don't forget, tune in before midnight tonight to W Light 103 FM. That's Light Rock, Less Talk, W Light 103 FM.
In Denmark, there is something so pure, so genuine, so much like the land it comes from. It's simply called Danish. At Eggevist, for more than 80 years, we haven't forgotten. Danish is what we are, and Danish is what we make. Eggevist.
Stop wild Proso millet from running wild and take care of 33 weeds and grasses before they start with Eradicane Extra.
In recent weeks, we've reported on several cases of prostitutes with the AIDS virus who have continued to have sex.
This news of those cases comes at the same time that Minnesota health officials had been promising confidential testing to people who think they might have the AIDS virus. Caroline Lowe reports on what impact this publicity might have on the health department's campaign.
It's against state law, but somehow someone apparently leaked confidential medical information that a Minneapolis prostitute may have the AIDS virus. Now, at the request of the Minnesota Health Department, an investigation is underway to find out how police learn the results of her virus test. What concerns health officials and doctors the most is that this case may discourage people at risk for AIDS from being tested for possible exposure to the AIDS virus.
It certainly shakes the confidence, I guess, in patients coming in. How can we truly guarantee that this is confidential?
To protect the privacy of patients at the Room 111 clinic in St. Paul and other test sites, people are not asked to give their real names. They are also assigned a code number for identification. When the results come back, they are shared only with the patient in a face-to-face meeting. They are never released over the phone. Dr. Henry can't recall any case in the past where test results were released at his clinic or anywhere else in Minnesota. He considers the case last week to be an isolated but very serious incident.
This just points out that you're dealing with people. People handle the information, and leaks can occur, I guess, because of, people, and it's not a 100%, fail-safe system.
The concern about confidentiality comes at a time when the number of people being tested for AIDS has jumped dramatically. Yes. A key reason is news reports about a prostitute who says he may have exposed hundreds of married men to the virus. It also comes during debate over a proposal that people with positive test results be asked but not required to give their names to the state health department. Caroline Lowe, WCCO Television News, the Twin Cities.
Tony Parker in tonight for Tom Hanneman. Lots of sports action.
Oh, what is it you want to hear about? Nicklaus, North Stars winning, the Strikers winning, beating the Sidekicks. We'll have it all, so stay with us.
For 30 years, Towsley is the name you've known for car values in the Northland. Now, we haven't sold Subarus quite that long, but we have sold them for 16 years and are one of the largest Subaru dealers in the country. So you choose from over 150 Subarus in stock, XT coupes, turbos, wagons, sedans. Subaru rates second only to the much more expensive Mercedes-Benz when it comes to customer satisfaction. And while many dealers ask list price or more, Towsley Subarus always have the lowest price at our brand new Subaru dealership, Highway 694 and 61, White Bear Lake.
Imagine NSP has tapped an energy source where impulses ride microcircuits at 200 miles per hour. This energy source is so flexible, it adapts to a volley of images. So sensitive, it responds to sounds of 1 decibel. This energy source is the creative energy of NSP's people, working to keep your energy costs as low as humanly possible. Creative energy, NSP.
The Florida Everglades and Old Milwaukee both mean something great to these guys. The Everglades means airboating, as close as you can get to flying without leaving the ground. And Old Milwaukee means a great beer. Cold, crisp, Old Milwaukee beer. And smooth, golden Old Milwaukee Light.
There's nothing like the flavor of a special place in Old Milwaukee beer.
Old Milwaukee and Old Milwaukee Light.
Hey, guys, it doesn't get any better than this.
Well, a great victory for Jack Nicklaus today, but first let's talk about our local heroes. The fifth and deciding game between the North Stars and the Blues will be played in Bloomington Tuesday night. The Stars leveled their playoffs at 2 games apiece with a 7-4 victory tonight in St. Louis. The Stars forced the Blues into a shootout, and it paid off. St. Louis scored first, but Neil Broughton scored twice in 23 seconds to put the Stars in front here in the opening period. This is his second goal. It was 3-3 after 1. Byron Bellows got his second goal early in the second period on the North Star power play, but there was still a lot of game left to play. Dirk Graham gave the North Stars additional momentum with a short-handed goal, which came after the Stars had 3 players in the penalty box, one serving a bench penalty. Graham's goal really opened it up. St. Louis came down on a big rush. His shot hit the pipe there, bounded back to Gordy Roberts. He got it to McKegney, and Tony knew what to do with it. He took it all the way back to beat goalie Rick Wansley with a wicked shot. Mark Hunter's second goal for St. Louis came in the third period, and Marouk topped it all off with an empty net goal for his 10th playoff point. The only other playoff game tonight, a series still not decided like the North Stars St. Louis. It was Philadelphia 7, the Rangers 2. They are tied at 2 apiece. Well, at age 46, Jack Nicklaus is staring at the twilight of a brilliant career. In fact, he hasn't won much lately, but today the Golden Bear gave the gallery at Augusta National Golf Course something to remember, his 6th Masters Golf Championship. Nicklaus won his first Masters in 1963, but they may remember this one best. He fired a final round 765 to edge Greg Norman and Tom Kite by 1 stroke. Nicklaus finished at 9 under par for the 72 holes. Nicklaus and Kite were in the clubhouse, and Norman was coming up on the 18th green with a chance to win or tie. But the Aussie shanked his approach shot. It went to the right into the gallery, and his chance to win then was gone. But he still had a chance to tie with this putt, but he pulls it left, and they get out at 44 long in that green coat, a perfect fit for Nicklaus, and perhaps a fitting climax to a great pro career. Norman and Kite shared second place at 8 under. Ballesteros was next, followed by Price and Tom Watson. Well, the Strikers continued their playoff domination of Dallas tonight at Met Center, beating the Sidekicks 7-2. Minnesota now leads that best-of-5 game series 2-0. Dallas said the Strikers were lucky to win last night, but now they'll have to reassess Minnesota's success. Thompson Usian's fancy footwork paid off here, and Ray Hudson hammered it home for a 2-0 Strikers lead. Minnesota scored 4 straight to start the game. Greg Thompson made it 3-0 with a great individual effort. And Minnesota went on to win 7-2 before 5,100 fans. The Strikers never lost a playoff game at Sports Center, and they take a 2-0 lead in that series back to Dallas, and it's Game 3 on Wednesday night. Well, in the year that looks like it's going to turn up a bunch of fine baseball rookies, Seattle just may have grabbed a fine one in Danny Tartabull. The big slugger who had 44 homers in the minors last year beat the Twins today with a pair of doubles and his second homer of the series. The Twins led 2-1 on Bush's first inning homer, but in the 6th, Tartabull repped a second double of the game, driving in the tying run. His double in the first period figured in Seattle's first run of the game. But his big number was a 2-run homer off starter Mike Smithson. Big Mike pitched well. He struck out 9. His only walk came just before Tartabull's home run here, a 4-bagger in the 8th, to put the game away for the Mariners. Each team had only 6 hits, but Tartabull's 3 made the difference. Smithson the loser, Mike Moore the winner. The Twins are now 3-3. They host Oakland tomorrow in the first of 3 games. Elsewhere in the American League, it went this way. The Yankees beating Milwaukee 3-2. Cleveland topped Detroit 8-2. Boston 12, the White Sox 2. Kansas City 7, Toronto 4. Baltimore beat Texas 3-2. And rookie phenom Jose Canseco drove in 5 runs as Oakland beat California 11-7. In the National League, St. Louis lost its first game as Herm Winningham hit his first home run. Winningham has batted just 3 times this season, but he made the most of this at bat, the game-winning home run, as Montreal beat the Cardinals by the score of 3-2. Other games, Pittsburgh shut out Chicago 8-0. Philadelphia 4, New York 2, Atlanta 8, and Houston 7. It's L.A. over San Francisco 3-2, and San Diego beat Cincinnati 7-6. Anders Jarrett wasn't supposed to play in the WCT finals this week in Dallas, but he managed to sneak into the draw and took home the $150,000 first prize today. Jarrett beat Boris Becker in 4 sets for the championship. He had never beaten Becker before and missed 3 match points today before finally earning that victory. And Steffi Graf had never lost a set, or never won a set from Chris Everett Lloyd until today. And after losing 12 straight matches to Everett Lloyd, the 13th proved to be the charm for Graf, who beat Christie in straight sets today to win the Family Circle Cup. So Tuesday night, if you can get a ticket, it'll be at the Met for Game 5.
Very good. Great win by Nicklaus.
Yes,
unbelievable. Thank you very much, Tony. Well, shall we have some snow for our Monday?
How about some cloudiness and some rain and a
Okay.
high of 50 degrees?
That'll do it for the Sunday 10. Thanks for joining us.
Good night, everyone.
A Channel 4 editorial reply with the Education Director of the Minnesota AIDS Project, Kathleen Matthews.
WCCO recently endorsed more aggressive efforts to stop the spread of AIDS. The Minnesota AIDS Project agrees that we need action now to accomplish this, but we're concerned about some of the attitudes expressed by WCCO. The case of a male prostitute spreading AIDS makes good press, but it obscures a central issue. We must stop transmission of the virus, and that only happens when people understand and practice safe sex. Changes in sexual behavior don't come easily. Most of us are not comfortable talking explicitly about sex, especially sex between men. But to stop AIDS, people must get over their discomfort and learn how to protect themselves. With no vaccine and no cure, education is our only tool in helping people make choices about their sexual behavior. An epidemic like AIDS brings out the best in some people. Volunteers have contributed thousands of hours in caring for those infected and educating people about reducing the transmission of the virus. Hundreds of Minnesotans are learning anew the meaning of commitment, compassion, and love. Unfortunately, AIDS brings out the worst in others, but AIDS won't be beaten by isolating people or threatening them with jail sentences. We will only succeed when we learn to talk honestly and openly about safe sex, and when government acknowledges that this is a public health issue that demands resources. The situation of a male prostitute spreading the virus through sexual encounters is deplorable, but it serves to remind us of the importance of safe sex education for all of us. Let us use this opportunity to more effectively educate people about safe sex while time is still on our side.
An Equal Time reply.
Wake up tomorrow to CTO Radio. This is Roger Erickson. We get you up, informed, and feeling fine. Good night.
WCCO.